Zulo, Karen Mayo, Karen McKelvey.
Present.
Great. Good morning.
Good morning.
She did call Wanda Dial. That's in the chat. Did you call Wanda Dial?
I did. Thank you. Just saw
present.
it. Perfect.
Present. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
And Mercy, there are 22 participants listed, so there may be someone that you can see that haven't answered. Maybe they're just muted out.
Right. I'll check them once we get into the meat of things. Thank you so much. Where do we leave? Ashley McElroy?
Here.
Great. Good morning. Kim Moon.
I'm here. Hello.
Great. Good morning. All right. Tiffany Moore. Okay. And I have another Tiffany Seymour. Alicia Page.
Present.
Great. Good morning. Jessica Pelt. Okay. Kathy Poor. Lisa Powell. LaDonna Rudolph. Kate Simmons.
Kate Simmons is here.
Good morning. Nice to have you. Danielle Sylvester.
Present.
Good morning. Shanna Smith. Katie Stewart.
Here.
Good morning. Richard Templeton. Shanika Weatherly. And Rebecca Zanotti. Okay, and I'll go back and check our participant list and compare it and see if we just missed anybody who's come in. Okay, so first of all, we have some new members, and I don't know if Miss Moon and I think Miss Bedrin was able to join us. And so we want to welcome you to this panel, and we're excited to see the contributions that you have to bring to it. So we look forward to getting to know you better as well. All right, so right now we're going to start off with the approval of minutes from the February 17th meeting. So I just need a motion to approve those minutes. And
I'll make the motion. Mercy, this is Katie Stewart.
thank you. Thank you. And do I have a second?
I second.
I'm sorry, your name? Sorry, I didn't catch you. Wanda, there you are.
Wanda Dial. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Thank you. Okay, and so do we have a vote to approve those minutes? You can all indicate by unmuting or by typing in the chat.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, great. So do we have a vote? So if you'll put in the chat, or if you want to unmute and say aye, then we will approve those. All right. Okay, great. Those minutes are approved. Thank you so much. Okay, and right next, we're going to move into an overview of this panel, its purpose and duties. And if you have your agenda already in your email, you can read along. If you did not get that already, I'll give you a brief read through of it. The purpose of the panel is described in the provisions of 20 U.S.C. Section 1412A21 and 34 CFR Sections 300-167 to 300-169. That's to advise the state education agency on issues related to special education and to promote communication and cooperation among individuals involved with children and youth with disabilities. The duties and advisory panel function and the following functions of the advisory panel are listed under IDEA CFR 300.169. Our first role is to advise the SEA of unmet needs within the state in the education of children and youth with disabilities, to comment publicly on any rules or regulations proposed by the state regarding the education of children with disabilities, to advise the SEA in developing evaluations and reporting on data to the Secretary under Section 618, to advise the SEA in developing corrective action plans to address findings identified in federal monitoring reports, and finally, to advise the SEA in developing and implementing policies relating to the coordination of services for children with disabilities. So that's just a good overview of what we do, our purpose and function, our reason for coming together and existing and having reports. So next, we're going to talk about special education services, the technical assistance team. So we'll have a presentation by Tyler Merrill from the State Department. He is the education administrator, and his topic will be leveraging state technical assistance for LEA success. So Tyler, if you've joined us, I will turn that over to you.
Thank you. A1, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Let me share. All right, you should be able to see the screen.
Yes, perfect.
Yes, so thank you. So we're going to be going over leveraging state technical assistance for LEA success, and this pairs perfectly with the purpose of SEAP and serving those students here in the state of Alabama. So today we're going to hit on the technical assistance aspect of it. The Alabama State Department of Education Special Education Services Division provides local LEAs with differentiated technical assistance and professional development through tiered support systems driven by data. The overall goal of the ALSDE Special Education TAPD system is to support LEAs to effectively implement IDEA and provide students with disabilities a free, appropriate public education that helps them succeed and thrive. So here are the priorities that we're focusing on. Each spring, we review the relevant data to set the TA priorities for the upcoming school year. Some of the data sources include, but are not limited to, the SVP APR, LEA determinations, risk assessment data, monitoring data and findings, dispute and resolution data, physical data, and then stakeholder input. So the technical assistance is differentiated into 3 different tiers. So after we establish the priorities, we consider the available supports for the LEAs through Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 levels. The Tier 1 is our universal. This is available to all LEAs and may include resources, tools, statewide conferences or trainings, or virtual professional development. Tier 2 is more targeted. It is provided to LEAs or groups of LEAs who are identified through data analysis, LEA determinations, risk assessments, or any of those from the previous slide. And then Tier 3 is more intensive. This is reserved for the LEAs identified as needing the greatest support in a given school year. Typically, LEAs identified as Tier 3 are based on risk assessment data or other data or information. So the SES team will prioritize technical assistance to LEAs identified at the targeted Tier 2 or Tier 3 level through its accountability system. However, LEAs not identified as Tier 2 or 3 may request targeted or intensive TA by submitting a special education TA request form. This form is provided to all districts. It is linked on our website. It's linked in our emails. So, and these requests are reviewed weekly by the TA team. So the sample TA activities for Tier 1, they include the ALSDE, website and newsletter, regional specialists assigned to each LEA. SES developed resources and guidance on IDEA requirements and expectations, including webinars, one-pagers, and recorded Q&A sessions. Virtual office hours for LEAs on specific topics, local special education policies and procedures, guidance on IEP development and implementation, and then the IEP manual. Training and professional development events and opportunities. Some of those are the SES Shorts, IEP series, IEP training, Schoology courses for teachers and administrators. And then we have the SES mini conference and the mega conference that take place annually. For Tier 2 and Tier 3, for Tier 2, the more targeted LEA data workshops for LEAs identified as needs assistance or with significant disproportionality to understanding data resulting in status, conduct root cause analysis, and identify improvement steps. Virtual professional development for LEAs in upcoming monitoring cohorts to prepare for active monitoring. And then Tier 3 intensive. This is LEA-specific professional development and coaching to support district-level education improvements and efforts. And then ongoing consultation support to discuss application of targeted support, as well as universal resources and tools to LEA's improvement efforts. Some of our upcoming universal TA opportunities. We will be sharing the LEA Special Education Policies document with the field formerly known as the we refer to it as the LEA plan. The purpose of this document is to provide LEAs with consistent guidance for implementing the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act and meeting federal and state special education requirements, which this is a condition for receiving funding under IDEA. And it is that LEAs must adopt and enact written special education policies, procedures, and practices. And so we believe this is going to be very beneficial because it lays out, it makes it more uniform across the entire state and provides each district with the framework that they will need to be in compliance with this. Requirements addressed through the LEA policy document are FAPE, child find and referral process, IEP team, evaluations, eligibility, IEP meetings, IEP development, placement, least restrictive environment and implementation, transfer students, procedural safeguards and confidentiality, discipline procedures, assessment, parental place private school students, discontinuing special education services, dispute and resolution, and then physical requirements. So some of the policies, procedures, and practices are the framework that ensures compliance and consistency in organizations. And this LEA document is going to support and help in this. So these policies included in the document must be adopted by all LEAs. Each LEA will be responsible for developing and documenting local procedures that describe how policies in the document are implemented in their specific context. LEAs must also implement practices aligned to these policies and procedures. So a brief little example of what this may look like is Marshmallow District will ensure all children who need special education and related services are identified, located, and evaluated. This is a policy, and the policies will be the same throughout the state. Each district will then create the procedure. The county district conducts systematic activities listed in the Child Find Manual and uses community resources to identify children who may need special education services. And then the practices may look like special education director and data manager host a 2-day workshop for community agencies the first week of May to review current data and update the annual plan to distribute special education and related services material. So the universal related and TA related to the LEA policies document. So we will be providing more additional information related to this soon. The SES team will host a series of virtual learning events to explain the document and related expectations to the field and support districts to understand the policies document. document responsive local procedures, implement practices aligned to procedures and policies. And we are working with the districts to ensure that this meets their needs. At this time, do y'all have any questions?
Will we be able to get a copy of your presentation?
Yes, please.
Yes, I can make sure that is disseminated to everyone.
Thank you.
And again, this is a bird's eye view, brief overview of it. And as the document is being pushed out, there will be more information to come.
Great. Any comments or questions in the chat? You're free to unmute if you have a question or to type it in the chat. Okay, well then thank you so much for that presentation. And I think that will get sent and shared by Latasha. That's who usually sends out things after our meetings. So thank you so much again for your time this morning. We'll take a very, very quick break. We've only been going at it 18 minutes unless we want to move forward a little bit and push that break to about 9:30. So we can get the public comments. Do we have any public comments, Latasha, before we get into the reports?
Mercy, no public comments were received.
Okay, great. Well, like I said, we've only been going for 18 minutes. Our next report is from Delee Chambers, the director's report. Do you want to go ahead and have the break now, or do you want to have that report first? Oh, I'm sorry, that was to Delee. Do you want to go ahead and have the report, or do you want to take a quick break? Because we've only been here about 20 minutes.
I think she's speaking, but we can't hear her.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I don't see her on screen. Sorry, let me close this chat. And let me see. There we go. All right. Yes. Yeah, Delee, we don't see you. I'm sorry, hear you. It's not saying you're muted. Do you want to type, or do you want to leave and come back?
I guess we're gonna break and let me
No,
get my mic.
You're back. We hear you.
Okay, you can hear me now? Okay,
Yes.
so sorry.
No, there's no problem.
I thought I had tested my microphone when we first got in the room. I'm so sorry. Hey, thank you everyone for being here today. I feel like we were just at AIDT for the last meeting, and I think that's great that we are in a routine and a rhythm, and that you guys are meeting regularly and getting your committee work done and reporting back and everything. And I just want to give a shout out to Mercy for stepping in today. We go through waves of, at times we have to, encourage people. I won't say beg people, but we have to encourage people to step forward to be the chair and the co-chair. So just definitely appreciate the fact that we have a strong chair in Mercy, and that she was willing to step forward and facilitate the meeting today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. Is it sharing?
It is starting to. It's swirling, but you've initiated it. There it is.
Okay. So let's see. Let me see if I can. It looks like it might still be. Okay, so hide that, and let me see if I can advance the slide. All right. So last time we met, we announced that we were waiting on the Office of Special Education Programs to let us know what to do about the Part B grant application for the funds. And shortly after that meeting, we did receive the email and the correspondence alerting us to the fact that giving us the directions and the forms to fill out. And so we did post our Part B application for public comment. The public comments ended yesterday, and in the survey, we hadn't received any comments, but I need to check the mail and make sure that none came in through the USPS postal mail. And so as you may recall, most of the money is allocated to the districts. Most of the money goes straight to the local education agencies, but there is a state set aside that the state develops activities with the state set aside funds. And so that's what we received feedback on, is the state set aside and the activities that we have for the discretionary funds. So a key feature of the Special Ed Advisory Panel is that the Special Ed Advisory Panel members give feedback, give recommendations and feedback. And so this is a part of my report I'm going to call Recommendations and Feedback from SEAP to the ALSDE. And the Student Achievement and Data Committee, chaired by Cameron Carden, Cameron plus one or two other people got together in response to the presentation on the SPP APR, the State Performance Report, Annual Performance Report, and like to discuss the slippage and where the state, had decreases in the percentages and where we didn't meet the targets and everything. And so in the places where we didn't meet the targets and in fact had slippage, which would be a worsening from our data from the year before. And so the committee, a few people from the committee gave us 5 recommendations. And so I thought it would be helpful to go through 2 of those recommendations today, and to keep from, overwhelming and trying to, kind of attack this in small pieces, to be able to talk about, the first 2 things, and then we'll pick up the other things at the next meeting. So the first comment had to do with indicator 4, which is the percent of LEAs that have a significant discrepancy related to suspensions and expulsions of greater than 10 days for certain racial groups. And so the comment was, let's see, the committee felt like they didn't have enough information to completely determine the root cause. And so they asked how many LEAs were represented by 8%. And the answer to that is there were 12 LEAs that represented the 8% in the state of Alabama. And so the committee recommended that districts look at functional behavior assessments, behavior intervention plans, and providing enhanced behavior management training for the identified LEAs. And so the data team took the recommendation and reviewed what was being the comment from the recommendation, and wanted to report back to you that the LEAs who are identified for this do a self-assessment, and based on their self-assessment, it was determined that the policies, procedures, and practices, that there weren't necessarily any instances of noncompliance among those 12 LEAs. And so as far as whether or not the districts were specifically doing anything to create this issue or cause this issue, we didn't find anything under their policies, procedures, and practices. And the team wanted to report back to you that the recommended corrective actions are actually interwoven into the things that we do with districts who are identified for this particular indicator. The second indicator that was commented on was indicator 5B, and that has to do with the least restrictive environment, educational environments for students ages 5 enrolled in kindergarten and then 6 to 21. So we're talking about the 5-year-olds who are in kindergarten up to age 21. And in particular, we had slippage in the percent of kids who were inside a regular class less than 40%. And so that means that we had more kids who were removed from the class the majority of the day than in the past. And so for that particular indicator, Then the committee also said that they didn't feel like they had enough information just based on the presentation of the report and needed more information. But their, preliminary recommendation was to revise the target, and with the idea that we know that least restrictive environment does not necessarily always mean placement in the general ed setting for all children, and that children have a continuum of needs. And so therefore we need a continuum of services. And there are in fact children who, benefit from being in a more structured environment with a higher, adult ratio and whatnot. So the recommendation was to look at revising the target. And so the feedback from the data team was that the state will consider that. And as a part of that, what I wanted to tell you is that we are about to move into a period of target setting to where we will be looking at all the targets for all the indicators, and we'll need to set the targets for federal fiscal year 2026 to 2031. And so as a part of that, each state must set measurable and rigorous targets. And so we will be actually, doing a deep review and looking at our historical data and talking about do our targets need to be, increased, decreased. And so this particular work will affect the SPP APR that we submit, or the APR that we submit to OSEP on February 1st, 2028. And so the current targets are under use right now and will be part of the report that is submitted in February of 2027. But when we sit down with you and do the presentations and talk about the targets and do the targets need to change, that will be for effective in February of 2028 and the subsequent years after that, for a period up to 2031. So I also wanted to take a moment to spotlight an interagency relationship that we have with the Alabama Department of Human Resources. We are currently—
Chambers.
Yes.
Dr. Chambers. I apologize. This is Cameron Carden. I just wanted to say thank you and to just let the committee know that the way that we handled those feedback, I wasn't at the last meeting, so I wasn't able to share this, was that we used a Qualtrics survey that we sent out to the entire data committee for feedback on all of the indicators that were for which slippage was reported, along with the PowerPoint presentations that we received, which were so helpful. And then those data from the surveys were assimilated by me and another member of the team in order to provide that feedback. So I just wanted to let everyone know how we came about that feedback. It was through individual responses and then an assimilation of those data. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much for filling that in, because, and I apologize to the rest of the committee. I was under the impression that you and the person who helped compile it were the two people who submitted the recommendations. And so thank you for letting everybody know that actually was a group activity and that other people were involved in the review and making the recommendations. So thank you for clearing that up and for bringing that to everyone's attention.
Well, Dr. Chambers, I do want to say we went through that exercise and everyone had the opportunity to provide comment. Not everyone on the data committee provided comments. So there were limited data to assimilate, just so you know. But yes, it was sent out to everyone, absolutely, with an email and then a detailed survey with all of that information.
Well, I hope that would has set the stage for the future target setting, in which we take a deep dive and look at all of the indicators. Your committee did it in association with the APR from last year and the slippage, and at the data team's request, to give us feedback and make recommendations and, talk about ways in which we might help the state improve. And so I hope that will be, even though you might have had limited participation or limited responses, I hope that would springboard the future work and help set the stage for the activities that are to come.
Thank you. And also just a public thank you to Richard Templeton, who helped me on the data committee assemble those things. So thank you so much, Dr. Chambers.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so interagency spotlight for today goes to the Alabama Department of Human Resources. We are working with DHR right now to do enhanced intensive training for psychiatric residential treatment facilities who are educating foster students at their facilities, at their residential placements. And we are one of the main things that we're talking with them about is educational placement in the least restrictive environment, and making sure that everybody is aware of and understands that just because a student is living at a psychiatric residential treatment facility does not necessarily dictate where they receive their educational services during the day, and that individual decisions need to be made for each student based on whether or not their needs can be met in a local public school. And so we have like intensive increased training going on for that right now between us and human resources. And some of the training is like we may be training the school district people and the specialized treatment center or the PRTF staff, and then they're also they're training the caseworkers, the social workers. And Valencia Curry is a member of the special ed advisory panel. Many of you know her, and she invited me to, help with some of their training for the social workers to talk about IEP meetings and, different acronyms, and also to help them understand that educational placement, or that living placement at a residential treatment facility, a psychiatric residential treatment facility, doesn't necessarily dictate or mean that the student has to receive educational services there during the day. And then also we're making arrangements for any foster children who might have received an abbreviated educational opportunity at a PRTF to receive compensatory education to make up for, anything that they may have lost during the time that they may have received abbreviated educational activities. So definitely an area of growth for us right now, and something we are, making a priority for the state of Alabama. And I'm grateful for Valencia sitting on the special ed advisory panel, and also for the work we're doing under this work with the PRTFs. All right, so last time I thanked you for going above and beyond. This time I'd like to thank the panel members for prioritizing the panel meetings, including like Mercy hopping on, in the location she's at a school, and you guys doing what you need to do to be able to be here today and make the meeting. Next, I wanted to tell you that the state, under significant disproportionality, has the opportunity to add in a rule for reasonable progress. And in order to add in a rule for reasonable progress, so when a school district is identified for significant disproportionality, being over the risk ratio, they have to do certain activities to bring that number down. And so they have to bring it down under a certain threshold. And so the idea of reasonable progress is that we could allow districts to receive credit for making progress, but not meeting, being below the threshold. And so I invited Dr. Kamichi Green and Dr. Melissa Card to tell you more about that activity, so that you could potentially provide feedback to us on that option. And I'm going to stop sharing and let them, if I can find my stop share. I'm going to let them share their presentation now. So thank you very much, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. I am Kamichi Green. I am part of the SES data team, along with Dr. Melissa Card and also Mrs. Michelle Ziegler. As Dr. Chambers just stated, today we will be discussing significant disproportionality and really focusing on the reasonable progress flexibility that is allowed by the U.S. Department of Education. So at this time, I'll share my screen. One second. Are you able to see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Uh-oh, sorry. All right, so today we will focus on significant disproportionality as it is defined by the IDEA. We will also briefly discuss Alabama's definition and talk about the reasonable progress flexibility. And we want to offer you all a few options and give you all an opportunity to respond to those options. And also just show you a little sample data review to better explain the flexibility. So first, we'll begin with what is significant disproportionality as defined by the IDEA. So Section 300-646 requires states to annually collect and examine data to determine whether significant disproportionality based on race or ethnicity is occurring in the state in respect to three categories. The first being identification of children as children with disabilities. We're talking overall and by 6 specific disability categories, as well as educational placement of children, particularly in more restrictive settings, as well as disciplinary actions, focusing on suspensions and expulsions. I included the direct link to the statute here at the bottom of the slide, as well as a great recording that was actually recorded by OSEP, the Office of Special Education Programs, where it described significant disproportionality in detail and all of the requirements. So two resources, I'm sorry. Right, so
Dr. Green, are you there?
great. Can you hear me?
Yes. Go
Okay,
ahead.
sorry. I apologize. My internet, I'm in a corner office and the internet sometimes goes in and out. It's a bit unstable. So at any time, if I freeze, Melissa is standing by to jump in for me. So again, states may incorporate 2 flexibilities in its methodology. The first being a multi-year flexibility, which means that a state can use up to 3 years of data to identify an LEA with significant disproportionality. Before this flexibility was offered, states had to use 1 year worth of data. So basically, if an LEA exceeded the state-defined threshold, then the very next year that LEA would have to set aside up to 15% of its IDEA funds to focus on coordinated early intervening services. But with this flexibility, we can use 3 years of data, and in the third, if a LEA is identified in the third year, then the next year they would have to set aside that those funds. The second being flexibility is reasonable progress, meaning that a state would not identify LEAs if they are demonstrating reasonable progress in lowering the applicable risk ratios in each of the 2 prior consecutive years. Now, we have to define what reasonable progress is, and that is what we want to focus on today. But before we do that, I want to further show you where in the statute in Section 300-647, if a state incorporates reasonable progress, it must include a detailed explanation of why the numbers chosen are reasonable and how they ensure that the state is appropriately analyzing and identifying LEAs with significant disparities. Okay, so one more thing about reasonable progress. States may allow LEAs to avoid being identified as having significant disproportionality, even if they exceed the state-defined risk ratio thresholds. This flexibility allows districts to show that they are actively reducing disparities in special education, identification, placement, or discipline. And the purpose is simply just to acknowledge districts that are actively doing the work and they are truly reducing the disparities, but they still their percentages is still above the thresholds, but they are actively showing decreases over time. With that said, let's briefly discuss Alabama's definition. So in 2018, when all states were required to review and revise its methodology and come up with a standard methodology, we worked with the SEAP at that time, as well as other stakeholders, to create Alabama's standard methodology. And I keep harping on standard because with the standard methodology, we must apply the risk ratios and just the entire methodology each year unless changes are made. So with that said, in 2018, we established risk ratios for the three areas. So for identification, 4.0, placement in least restrictive environment, 3.0, and discipline, 5.0. We did make one change in 2021, and Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we used to have discipline at 3.0, but after we did a deep data dive, we along with our stakeholders, determined that 5.0 was more reasonable. So we did increase discipline at that time in 2021. But that said, when the LEA is identified as having or meeting or exceeding, the thresholds in any of the three areas, Alabama requires the LEA to review and revise its policies, practices, and procedures that may contribute to the disproportionality and to engage in targeted training. And if the LEA is identified in the same category of analysis for 3 consecutive years, that is the multi-year flexibility, they are required to set aside 15% of their IDEA Part B funds for comprehensive coordinated early intervening services. We often call that CCEIS. So as such, we are considering adding in the reasonable progress flexibility to our state methodology, and we are seeking your feedback to select a reasonable threshold. On the screen here are a few options that we have come up with. We did not just pull them out the air, they are based on data. So what we did, we took, give me a second, we took, for the 2.25, we took the FFY24, so the school year 24-25, the average decrease of risk ratios for 3 LEAs. And that equated to 2.25. 0.68, we took the 2025 average decrease of risk ratios for 4 LEAs. The decrease of 0.50 was also the 0.25 average decrease. Did I say FFY25 average decrease for 3 LEAs, but we removed the outlier. We had one district that was kind of just way out there. So we removed that district, and that percentage of decrease was 0.50. And for 0.25, we took half of the average, the FFY25 average. And we also have another option. If you could think of another reasonable threshold or decrease, we welcome your feedback in that area. All right, the last thing that I want to we want to discuss, this is just some raw data here. And I want to just focus on just a few of them. So let's take Mercury County for as an example. So in FFY23, the risk ratio for ID was 4.05. Remember, the threshold is 4.0. So any percentage greater than 4.0 is considered to, you're flagged as having significant disproportionality. For Mercury County, FFY23, they had 4.05, which was greater. All right, so this is just their first year of identification. Remember, we have a 3-year flexibility. So the next year, FFY24, their percentage was 4.71. They actually increased, right? So that pretty much knocked them out of the, they're going in the wrong direction, in other words. All right, so then in FFY25, their percentage was 4.21. Well, we have to consider 3 years of data. And as you can see, they did not meet the threshold because they actually increased in the second year. The same thing for being a city. 5.57 the first year, 6.11, which is an increase. However, they did decrease in the third year, 5.37. Again, second year increase kind of disqualified them for the reasonable progress flexibility. Let's jump down to Saturn City, where in 2023, their risk ratio was 10.33, and this is for discipline. The threshold is 5.0. So in 23, 10.33. However, in 24, they did show a decrease, 8.43, right? And then the following year, 7.41. So their threshold, although they met the threshold for each area, for discipline, they did show a steady decrease over time, over 3 consecutive years. So Saturn City would qualify for the reasonable progress flexibility. However, we do not know what our threshold is. So that is what we have to do today. We have to consider, let me go back one, what do we consider as reasonable? Is it a 2.25 decrease? Is it 0.68? Is it 0.50? Is it 0.25? Or is it something else that you may consider? So with that being said, we need your feedback. Dr. Card will drop the link to our feedback form in the chat. We will also give you all a copy of this presentation, so you can, I didn't read all of the words or whatever, so you can, read it at your leisure to get a better understanding of significant disproportionality and what we are tasked with doing at this time. So if you don't mind, if you could please complete this form and have it to us no later than next Tuesday, April 28th. We will definitely appreciate your feedback. If there are questions regarding significant disproportionality, feel free to reach out to either me or Dr. Card, and we will do our best to answer your questions. So at this time, are there any questions about, let me stop sharing, significant disproportionality?
Dr. Green, I had a question. Is it something that's feasible when we look at that chart with the data? If we see a school that is, at a 5.0 instead of a 4, but when we have one that's at 10 over 5, is it feasible to say, well, this kind of gap leads to a stricter flexibility than this one?
No,
is that possible?
We have to have a standard.
Okay, so it can't be based on a sliding scale.
It cannot be based on a sliding scale. Whatever we choose, it must be applied each year, across all LEAs unless we come back together and say, hey, we don't think this is reasonable. Let's rethink this. But it has to be a standard methodology that's applied to all districts.
Okay.
The same rate.
Understood. I'd hate to say somebody who's at a 4 instead of a 3 has to get to 2.25.
Yeah.
But somebody at a 10 instead of a 5, I don't want to say they have to get to 0.25. So I didn't know if that was feasible. Thank you for clearing that up.
No problem. Are there any other questions?
We got the form in the chats, which I appreciate. Can we also get a copy of your presentation? Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
Well, and the link is on the last slide of the presentation as well. Whenever you receive that.
Well, we'll turn it back over to you, Mercy.
Thank you so much for all that information and for explaining the reasonable progress. It's good to see, but I like to see that there's parameters, and so that helped me a lot too. Dr. Chambers, is there anything else from your report?
That is all I have for today. Just
Okay.
thank you again for everything all of you are doing and for you stepping in today.
I'm happy to do it. So all we have left are our committee reports. Now we have been going for about an hour. So I say let's take a 5-minute break and we'll come right back to close out with our committee reports, old business or new business. All right. So if everyone wants 5 minutes, let's come back. We'll do 7 and come back at 10 o'clock. Thank you. All right, I've got 10 o'clock, so we will start back with our committee reports. I will go first with membership. We actually have one new applicant to vote on and approve today. Her name is Angela Counts. She comes to us as a parent of a special needs student, and actually brings a unique perspective in having to also navigate the special education process as a foster parent. So she has come to us from the Muscle Shoals area, and her application was received and complete. So do I have a motion to approve Angela Counts for membership on this panel?
Katie Stewart, I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Evandra Jackson, I second it.
Thank you. Okay, so we can all unmute and signify or vote by saying aye or typing it in the chat.
Aye.
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 All right, any opposed? Okay, her membership is approved. Now we can go on to the bylaws committee with Chair Wanda Dial. Do you have a report?
Good morning. There have been no changes in the bylaws committee.
Okay, wonderful. Any public comment on bylaws? I'm sorry, any committee comment on bylaws? All right, let's move on to stakeholder and public engagement with Chair Katie Stewart. A report.
Good morning. The Stakeholder and Public Engagement Committee reviewed the proposed 2027 budget that we were presented at our February meeting. The only comment that we received from the group was that we would like to see as much money as possible be sent to the individual schools rather than just the districts, so that the schools are able to address the needs of the students and any personnel needs that they may have at their individual school level, not just from the district. That would really mainly apply to the IDEA Part B, Section C through F funding. But and I know a lot of it goes to the district level to be dispersed as they see fit. But from the stakeholders, we had the comment that they would like to see as much of that as possible be sent to the individual schools to be able to use it as they need to.
All right, thank you for that, Katie. Are there any more reports, any comments on that report? Okay.
Unless anyone else has anything, that's all that I have.
Okay. Thank you so much. Having no questions or comments on that, we will move on to the next committee. That is Student Achievement and Data from Chair Cameron Carden. Anything to report? She may not be back yet. Cameron, do you have any report for the Student Achievement and Data Committee?
This is Cameron. Hi. We do not have any additional report today, but appreciate Dr. Chambers reviewing the input that we provided through aggregating the data that we received from the data committee from our survey. Thank you.
Wonderful, and that was a great report. So we're appreciative of you and Mr. Templeton for supporting that and for helping out. Okay, we'll move on to old business. We don't have any old business to discuss today. So next we have new business. Do we have any new business? Possibly Latasha, do we have any?
I'm Alicia Page. And I just wanted to make a suggestion comment. So I sit on the panel as a parent of a student with special needs, but I'm also a program specialist for 6 schools. And I just wanted to voice my concern regarding the ACAP testing for the alternate. Something has to be done for that process. I know that we have to align that with alternate standards, and I know that's what it's based on, but we possibly may need to go back to AAA where there was a complexity level because I have given that test for 20 plus years, and I just don't understand why we continue to give that test to these students without a complexity level. You have students that are this test is very, very hard, and you have students that can only eye gaze, but they're still held to the same test. And so if we go back to complexity levels of, 0, 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, I don't know, that may be helpful for us, but that's just all I wanted to say.
I agree as well.
And if I could piggyback off of that, we all, in the same respect, we require, for instance, the 11th grade state testing is the ACT. And we require essential skills students who some of them may be multiple grade levels behind their actual grade level. We require them to take the ACT with their grade level peers, and their scores count. We also we have an alternate pathway for general education, which is fantastic that our students have a career and technical pathway to where they would only be required to take 2 maths and 2 sciences, and then can work on their credentials or certifications for a career and technical career, which is fantastic. But those students are also at this point still required to take the ACT, and they won't be adequately prepared. So I would say across the board, we need to look at our requirements for testing versus students that are not prepared to take those tests. We're essentially shooting ourselves in the foot with that.
Yes, and just to add to that, we're trying to retain teachers in the state of Alabama, and I'm a program specialist stepping in the gap. Coming from a district with 40 plus vacancies for special education. We are not going to retain teachers this way. There has to be a better way for us. I don't know if we need to go back to the days of collecting evidence and turning that into the State Department, but this way wastes everyone's time, and it breaks my heart, honestly, for the kids.
I agree again.
And I apologize. I am simply taking minutes here, taking notes on this for the minutes. I heard some agreement. Can you state who you were?
Wanda Dial.
Thank you. Sorry. I was looking down and didn't see which screen unmuted. I appreciate that. All right. And thank you so much. I sit in a lot of meetings where we have no new business because it's at the end and everybody wants to get out. So I appreciate you voicing that concern and bringing that to the panel for some discussion and for further investigation. I've been out of the classroom just long enough that the ACAP alternate is not something I've experienced. My own daughter did not. She's 23 now, so she did not. So it's always good to get that perspective from people who are still experiencing it, either as parents or as professionals. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and we'll have some more information about that, I'm sure, at another meeting. So is there any other new business? Okay. The next, I'm to Latasha Kendrick on panel member news.
First, there's no panel member news.
All right, thank you. And so finally, last thing, do we have any additional questions or comments from the panel? I do see someone has typed in the chat. Let me make sure and check it. Oh, just some more agreement. I appreciate that. Okay. Anything else at all for the good of the panel, for the good of the discussion, or special education in Alabama?
I was sorry, this is Paula Bedrin. As far as the reasonable progress report went, what's the deadline you want those votes in? And is this something that you want like public voting on, or just certain committees, or what are all the details for that?
I did see that it's April 28th as the date to get that submitted. Let me find my notes. There we are.
And we would like feedback from the whole panel, everybody, anybody and everybody. Yeah,
Okay.
this isn't the only group. Special Ed Advisory Panel won't be the only group we ask. So yes, definitely all panel members, not just a certain committee. If you have like, a strong opinion one way or the other, then, by all means, please respond to the survey so we can, make sure that we're hearing from people who have an interest and who have, ideas about how we should make that change.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And I see Ashley McLeroy has your hand up.
Hey there, I'm Ashley with the Accessing Potential Through Assistive Technology program, APT-AT. We work very, very, very closely and have a lending library for special education services for schools to access for assistive technology. So I just wanted to mention that our AT Alabama conference is officially scheduled for September 1st and 2nd in Birmingham. And call for proposals is open for until April 30th. So we always have a very robust education track. And what we are looking for is speakers who can present on assistive technology related topics for that education track, especially, or transition. So whether it's device specific or how assistive technology can be implemented in the classroom, doing AT evaluations, any of those topics would be welcome if anyone feels that they would be experienced enough to submit a proposal for AT Alabama. I'm putting that link in the chat. It's atalabama.org. And call for proposals is open till April 30th, and then registration should be open shortly after that. Thank you, Mercy.
Thank you for that. And in that link, I'm sorry, the website, just to be clear, Alabama is spelled out. AT Alabama, the word.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. Oh, I see it there. Sorry, I didn't look at the chat. Do we have any other questions, comments? All right, with that, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion.
I second it, LaDonna.
Thank you so much. With that, everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Meeting is adjourned. Our next meeting will be August 17th. The time, location, or virtual will be announced closer to time, so mark your calendars. And thank you so much for your time today.
Nice job, interpreters. You guys were seamless.